Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Lead off a little bit with some local sports roundup. First of all, let's start off with the Blue Gold because, I was at the game, Ken Anderson's game. What a Saturday, by the way, for the Blue Golds overall.
Oh, I know.
That game, I mean, it was intense. I will say, Superior's coach and that bench is very animated throughout a game. I don't know how they can keep that energy going, but they did. Went to overtime. Blue Gold's able to win. Fifth straight win for Coach Malvik's group.
And then they've been playing some battles this whole year. Even the ones they lost were battles.
One possession games.
Yeah, exactly.
So they win. Tanya England's group wins on a last-second layup.
And same with them.
Yep.
just like nail-biting games which is going to be good when they get to conference play.
Right. So you had that. Men's hockey taking down River Falls.
Yep.
Women's hockey getting a win. Men's wrestling standout. I think second place at MSOE Invitae. I mean, what a day to be a Blue Gold on Saturday.
What a great one. I mean, we start off with the basketball teams, and I think it's almost like you can lump the hockey teams in there too. The women's hockey team's been probably the most consistent, but took their lumps on the River Falls game. But they got that win over Gustavus Adolphus,
right? And
then come back and win another big one here. So they're looking as strong as they normally do. Men's basketball team, you get those couple of first games where you're just losing by a shot, and now you're turning it around, and the guys are figuring out ways to get the wins, and that's huge. And really, again, like these teams always don't shy away when they play non-conference schedules, and that's going to help. And Tanya would, they had some big leads that they blew early in the season, now have come back and figuring out something again as we get towards conference, and that's the way they work.
Yeah.
So I mean, for those teams, it's been great. And then the men's hockey team, talking with Lohner on Wednesday, you could tell that there wasn't any negativity with what he was saying. He's like, we're practicing great, we're doing everything great. They just about beat St. Norbert, and again, they want to win, so they're not good. But you can see them kind of starting to maybe turn that corner as well as we get towards that. You'll have that little Christmas break, but the final wrap up here before they have that break. And there's a lot of good momentum in the wrestling team. I mean, that team is just insane, and the momentum that they always carry is pretty great there. So you look at all those teams combined, like you said, it was a great weekend for the Blue Golds. And I would say, and then of course the Ken Anderson being honored,
right? And it was cool too. Just if anybody hasn't been to the new Sonic Center too, but with I'll call it the boxes in the corner there too. But a lot of people came back for Ken Anderson, former players and such, to support their former coach. I mean, one of those boxes was just packed full of people up there, too. So that was cool.
Yeah, and what a legend. What a legend. And, a lot of he could have just shied away and walked away from the program, but you'll see Ken Anderson at all these games supporting. And he's, I figured this out, and it almost is crazy, but he's been retired longer now than he coached at the Blue Golds, if I'm not mistaken. I think 95 was his last year, so 29 years ago, and he coached the Blue Golds for 27 years.
Man.
But you wouldn't think that because he's such a presence.
Right.
And not like one that's trying to take anything away from games, but just a guy who loves this school and loves to go to the games and support the programs. And, for him to be honored, and, I mean, the man deserves every honor that he's got. I mean, that best winning percentage of like any division, what he did with the Blue Golds. I mean, I love there's the court from the Zorn that they have, the Ken Anderson court cut out that's on one of the walls there. I mean, there's so much. If you go back and look at the history and D3 basketball in this area when it was NAIA, and it's just amazing what Ken Anderson did out there.
If there was and I remember reading about it in Bo Ryan's book, Another Hill to Climb, but if there was a way like I could just go back and just watch some of those games with Bo and Ken Anderson,
Well, just think of the names you had. I mean, Dick Bennett as well. At Stevens Point. I mean, there were so many legendary coaches. And it's fun because, I mean, this generation is so fun to watch, too, of the and they're the ones that built the WIAC into the premier Division III conference. And it is on their shoulders that all these other players are getting there and other coaches. But I mean those are your Mount Rushmore of WIAC sports right there.
And just think about too, I gotta imagine, Ken probably could have went to a bigger program if he wanted to.
Well,
right?
the talk of him being able to go to Wisconsin wanted him, and he stayed. Because he liked being here, and that just shows you how much he loves the area and how much he loved that school and just the legacy that he put down for the Blue Golds.
Absolutely. So that was awesome to see, and Yeah, it was quite the game too with that Superior team. I mean, there was one kid on there. I mean, he was the top player. I mean, he was just dropping, like leading his team in points, and there was some trash talk going on from fans in the stadiums too. So it felt like a college atmosphere, which was cool.
Yeah,
it really felt like it. So
that's Sonanteg. I mean, again, if you haven't caught a game there, go. I mean, there's not a bad seat in the house.
No,
and it's just such a fun. It looks big, but it is still, it's very cozy when you're in there.
Yep.
And you're right there with the game. So, yeah, I mean, if you haven't caught a game yet, get out there and see one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, but yeah, Coach Mulvik's team, I mean, they're off to a fantastic start, too. I know they're probably a little disappointed in their couple losses just because it was just by one possession, but you got to tell that program's trending in the right direction too.
Yeah,
with that. So
you can't, that's what you want. Step into a program and you've already got momentum.
Yep,
and you're already, the recruits that are already committing to come here, you got them already. So I mean that creates waves, and yeah, I think if things are really moving in the right direction.
Speaking of the WEAU overall too, I mean, over the weekend we got to shout out your alma mater taking down the #1 team in the country. Stevens Point's off to his 7-0 starts with the Pointers. Also help from a former Medford alum, Logan Baumgartner, who had 16 points in that game. But, I mean, that's good for the conference overall when you got teams like Point and Eau Claire and that getting back into the top rankings.
Yeah, and it's going to just be battles. I mean, the conference is always tough, but I feel like this year, you're seeing these teams, and even Stout's starting to get some momentum, had a couple wins in a row for them, and they had a rough start to the season. But, again, these teams don't shy away from playing tough guys. I think Stout this week has an NDSU. A D1 team. Yeah. And that you don't see that much other than maybe the start of his exhibition season. But they do, they're doing it here in the middle of December so yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I mean, conference play, be it whatever sport it is in this conference, it's just so tough and so much fun to watch. So I think, we're bound to have some good, thrilling games at the Sonanteg over at Johnson Fieldhouse. I mean, it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. So I know there was a lot going on this past weekend, too. I know our good buddy Brandon was over at Stout, speaking of which, watching a lot of local hoops over there with their big events with some local teams over there, too.
And Colfax had the girls' event as well for girls' basketball. So, I mean, if you wanted to watch a basketball game this weekend, you had ample opportunity, especially that Stout one. I mean, I think it's 12 teams or something like that over there, and I think Colfax was about the same. So starting from 10 in the morning till 8:30 at night. So a very fun, especially this time of year when you're getting those games in and teams are starting to hit their stride. And these are important games, and you can see the difference, the maturation from the start of the season for a lot of these teams to once we get past the break. It's just getting that court strength, and anybody who plays basketball knows it takes a while to kind of get your body back into that fast, slow. It's just such a different thing. So I think these teams are starting to really round very well. And
I know going to wrestling, Eau Claire North had a fantastic weekend too at the Johnson Creek Classic. Champions again? This year.
Jake's over there at North is just glowing after that. So and it's
huge program this year too. What the record numbers, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The sport just keeps growing and growing. And we had there was the invite over at Mondovi as well this last week for girls and boys. So, and we'll have this weekend. The Huskies are hosting their invite. They have a quad at least and two, and so does Chi High. So, a lot of wrestling going on this weekend.
So I think just record numbers too, and that's even on the women's side too. More from that,
and that sport just continues to grow, and that's good. And giving that opportunity and having them have that other sport and show what they can do out on the mats, it really is. The more you can get involvement and more opportunities, the better.
I know last week, too, we had some BRC hockey matchups, and that looks, again, to be one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in the state.
You always kind of wonder what it's going to be like, going into the year, because you don't really know until they get out on the ice. But, man, just seeing the matchups that they had there, and that Chi High and Memorial, both with brand-new coaches, didn't seem like anything changed. A 4-4 tie.
After overtime,
double overtime, But another team that's getting out of the BRC is Ram Hockey is off to an outstanding start as well. So that the hockey in this area is just top notch, if not some of the best in the state, if not the best in the state, is in this area. I got a chance to actually go watch a youth team on our neighbors' Ben's kid.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Shout out, Ben.
Ben, yeah, the Eau Claire Mustangs are over there playing at Ackervick rink. And just to watch that and just see that it's like, okay, this is in a few years, 5-6 years, this is when we're going to be able to see what's going on in this area for hockey. So it's really fun, and just the community atmosphere that comes with being a hockey parent, because it's not easy. I mean, I'm not a hockey parent, but I know enough hockey parents is like that. It is a commitment, and the family that grows with that, and then just goes to these teams when they get to high school and then off to college. It's pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. I know this was last week too, but I mean, and we talked a little bit with Brandon about it, but I mean, going back to girls basketball really quick, what a win for Chippewa Falls McDonald over Regis last week too.
What an atmosphere of a game, that Regis with that beautiful new gymnasium too. And Regis has been playing some really good basketball. And again, they played a tough schedule. Teddy has them playing great teams in and out. And then McDonald comes in, and you're not sure what you're going to get. McDonald's a younger team this year, but what a battle. They were down. I got there at halftime, and they're down 7-8 points, and it looked like Regis was going to run away with it, but McDonald just kept battling, and in the end, somehow got over the hump and got that 3-point win. But those two teams, I mean, they face each other. That's a good rivalry. That obviously there's a lot of background stuff with that rivalry now, but just on the court, it was fun to watch, and we'll see. I think it's the boys' turn this week for McDonald and Regis as well. So, and then they'll have the return matchups coming up later in the season. So, yeah, I mean, looking at girls basketball in this area has been just outstanding so far. I mean, you got teams, you got Elk Mound and Colfax and, McDonald, Regis, Durand, Arkansas. I mean, they're then on the, D1 side, Memorial and Eau Claire North, Manual.
Yeah.
I'm just naming teams, but it's because there's so much quality teams, and I apologize if I left any. Fall Creek, throw them out there as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of really good basketball out here on both sides, and, yeah, it's just a spoil of riches to be able to cover sports in this area and cover those local sports. I'm spoiled because there are so many great teams and so many great athletes and so many great just fans out there, too.
Exactly. Well said, sir. Well said.